When 5-year-old Ethan heard crying in the forest, he thought it was a child. But when he came closer and saw those three, his heart almost stopped. What he did next changed the life of an entire bear family forever. Morning mist wrapped the Montana mountains in a soft silver blanket. Little Ethan Johnson woke up earlier than everyone else. He was only 5 years old. But sleep had already left him forever. Ethan quietly climbed down from his little bed. Red socks flickered in the half-darkness. He walked to the window and pressed his nose against the cold glass. Outside the window stretched the vast Glacier National Reserve. Dad had been working here as a ranger for 12 years. The boy always dreamed of becoming like his dad, protecting animals and helping them. Mom often said, "Ethan, you have the kindest heart in all of Montana." And it was true. This morning something was different. The air seemed thicker. Ethan felt it with his little heart. Something important was about to happen today. Dad was already drinking coffee in the kitchen. Big hands held his favorite mug with "Best Ranger" written on it. He smiled when he saw his son. "Good morning, my little explorer." Ethan sat down at the table. Oatmeal with honey was already waiting for him. But he didn't feel like eating. Outside the window, adventures were calling. "Dad, can I come with you? There will be difficult work today, son." Dad often took Ethan to work, but only to safe places. The boy knew all the trails of the reserve, and all the safety rules. Mom came into the kitchen in a pink robe. She kissed Ethan on the top of his head. Her hands smelled of vanilla and homemade cookies. "If you go with Dad, do you promise to listen?" "I promise." Ethan jumped with joy. An hour later they were already driving in an old Jeep along the mountain road. Ethan sat in a special child seat. Outside the window, tall pines and rocky formations flashed by. Dad talked about the work of a ranger, about how important it is to protect nature. Ethan listened with wide eyes. He absorbed every word like a sponge. "Remember, Ethan, animals are our friends. But wild animals can be dangerous, especially if they are injured or scared." The boy nodded. He knew this by heart. The Jeep stopped near a small ranger cabin. Dad got out to check the equipment. Ethan stayed in the car. A promise is sacred. But then he heard it. Weak crying came from the thicket. The sound was quiet but piercing, like a child's voice asking for help. Ethan carefully stuck his head out the window. The crying sounded again. Now closer. And not one voice but three. The boy looked around. Dad was rummaging in the cabin, his back to the Jeep. He was about 20 meters away. The crying sounded again. Now it was very close. Behind a large rock, about 5 meters from the road. Ethan's heart beat faster. Someone needed help. And he couldn't just sit and listen. The boy quietly opened the Jeep door. Red sneakers softly touched the ground. He turned around. Dad was still busy. Ethan took a step toward the rock. Then another. The crying became louder and more pitiful. Behind the rock opened a small clearing. The grass was trampled, as if someone big had been lying here recently. And in the middle of the clearing, Ethan froze. His brown eyes became huge. 3 tiny bear cubs sat next to each other. The oldest was the size of a cat. The smallest no bigger than a toy. Their brown fur was covered with dry dirt. They were crying, with thin childish voices. Their little paws helplessly waved in the air. Ethan knew, bear cubs without a mother is bad. Very bad. But where was the mother bear? The boy carefully looked around. Silence reigned all around. Only the crying of the babies. The smallest bear cub tried to stand up, but his paws were trembling. He fell again and cried even louder. Ethan's heart clenched with pity. These tiny ones were hungry, and scared, and completely alone. The boy took another step forward. The grass rustled under his feet. The bear cubs raised their heads. 6 little eyes stared at Ethan. There was no fear in them. Only hope. The oldest bear cub stretched out his paw to him, like a child asking for help. "Oh, poor little ones," Ethan whispered. His voice trembled. But not from fear. From overwhelming compassion filling his heart. Ethan squatted down. Now he was at eye level with the bear cubs. The smallest tried to crawl toward him. "Where is your mom?" the boy asked quietly. The bear cubs understood the intonation. They cried even harder. As if telling their sad story. Ethan stretched out his hand. The smallest bear cub sniffed his fingers. Then touched his palm with a wet nose. The touch was warm and trusting. The baby seemed to say, "Will you save us? Ethan! Where are you?" Dad's voice rang out from the road. He had already noticed the empty jeep. The boy jumped up. The bear cubs pressed against each other in fear. "Here, Dad! Here!" Ethan shouted. "Hurry!" The sound of heavy boots approached. Dad was running, pushing through the bushes. "Ethan, what happened? Why did you?" The ranger ran out into the clearing and froze. His eyes became as big as his son's. 3 bear cubs sat in the arms of a 5-year-old boy. The smallest had fallen asleep on his lap. The other 2 trustingly nestled against his hands. "Dad, they got lost," Ethan whispered. "They were crying and asking for help." The ranger slowly sat down nearby. His trained gaze assessed the situation. The bear cubs were very young, no older than 2 months. Without a mother they wouldn't survive even a day. "Son, these are very small bears. They need special help. Where is their mom?" Ethan looked into his dad's eyes. The answer was written on the ranger's face. Something had happened to the mother bear. Something bad. The smallest bear cub woke up. He looked at Ethan and cried again. But now this crying meant, "Don't leave me!" Ethan pressed the baby tightly to himself. Warm tears rolled down his cheeks. "We'll save them, right, Dad?" The ranger looked at his son. At 3 helpless bear cubs. At the trust in their eyes. "We'll try, son. We'll definitely try." Dad's radio crackled to life. Emergency calls filled the mountain air. But Ethan heard only one thing. The soft breathing of 3 tiny lives. "Base, this is Ranger Johnson. We have an emergency situation." Dad's voice was steady but urgent. 3 orphan cubs. Location, mile marker 7, East Trail. The smallest cub still slept in Ethan's arms. His tiny chest rose and fell rapidly. Too rapidly for a healthy baby bear. "Copy that, Johnson. Wildlife rescue team dispatched. ETA 20 minutes. 20 minutes felt like forever. Ethan looked down at the sleeping cub. His fur was matted and dirty. But underneath, Ethan could see soft baby fuzz. "Dad, he's so little," Ethan whispered. The ranger knelt beside his son. Professional eyes examined each cub carefully. The middle one had a small cut on his paw. The oldest kept shivering despite the warm morning. "They're dehydrated, son. And probably haven't eaten in days." Ethan's heart sank. Days without food? These babies must be starving. "Can we feed them something?" Dad reached into his emergency pack. He always carried supplies for wildlife encounters. Baby formula powder. Small bottles. Emergency blankets. "We can try. But bear cubs need special milk." Dad mixed formula with water from his canteen. The mixture looked thin and watery. Not like rich mother's milk. The oldest cub sniffed the bottle curiously. His little nose twitched. Then he turned away. "He doesn't want it," Ethan said sadly. "Wild animals are suspicious of human food. We have to be patient." Ethan had an idea. He dipped his finger in the formula, then gently touched the cub's mouth. The baby tasted the drops. His tiny tongue licked again. and again. He likes it! Ethan's face lit up with joy. Slowly, carefully, Dad offered the bottle again. This time the cub latched on. Weak sucking sounds filled the clearing. The middle cub watched with hungry eyes. Soon he was drinking too. Greedy gulps echoed in the forest. But the smallest one wouldn't wake up. Ethan gently stroked his fur. No response. Dad, something's wrong with this one. The ranger's face grew serious. He felt the tiny cub's pulse. Too weak. Too slow. He's in bad shape, Ethan. Much worse than the others. Tears filled Ethan's eyes. This little guy had trusted him completely. Fallen asleep in his arms like a human baby. Will he be okay? Dad couldn't lie to his son. But he couldn't crush his hope either. The rescue team has special equipment. They'll know what to do. Ethan made a decision. He carefully lifted his shirt. Then tucked the smallest cub inside, against his chest. What are you doing, son? Keeping him warm. Like mommy bears do. The cub stirred slightly. Ethan's heartbeat seemed to comfort him. Body heat began working its magic. Minutes passed like hours. The other two cubs finished their bottles. They looked stronger already. More alert. But Ethan's little one remained limp. Breathing so softly it was barely visible. Come on, little guy, Ethan whispered. Don't give up. He started humming. The same lullaby Mom sang to him. Soft and gentle melodies drifted through the trees. The cub's ear twitched. Just once. But Ethan noticed. Dad, he heard me. Keep singing, son. Your voice might be helping. Ethan sang louder. Children's songs about friendship and love. About never giving up on someone you care about. The middle cub crawled over. He wanted to be close to the singing boy. Soon the oldest joined them too. 3 bear cubs and 1 little boy. Huddled together in the Montana wilderness. Family bonds forming in the most unlikely way. Vehicle sounds approached from the road. The rescue team was arriving. Professional help at last. But Ethan felt scared suddenly. What if they took his cubs away? What if he never saw them again? Dad, can we keep them? The ranger's heart broke a little. His son's love was so pure. So immediate and complete. Wild animals belong in the wild, Ethan. But first they need to get healthy. 2 veterinarians emerged from the rescue van. Dr. Sarah Martinez and Dr. James White. They'd saved hundreds of orphaned animals. How long have they been alone? Dr. Martinez asked. We found them an hour ago, Dad replied. No sign of the mother. Dr. White examined the cubs professionally. Temperature checks. Heart rate monitoring. Weight measurements. They're severely malnourished. This little one especially. He pointed to Ethan's cub. His name is Peanut, Ethan announced suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. The boy's face was completely serious. And that's Buddy. He pointed to the middle cub. And the big one is Bear. Dr. Martinez smiled. Those are perfect names. Will Peanut be okay? Ethan asked the question he was most afraid to hear answered. The veterinarian paused. Professional honesty warred with compassion for a worried child. He's very sick, Ethan. But you keeping him warm probably saved his life. Pride swelled in Ethan's chest. He had helped save a life. Just like a Rio Ranger. We need to get them to the wildlife center immediately, Dr. White explained. They need round-the-clock care. The moment Ethan had been dreading arrived. Time to say goodbye. He carefully lifted Peanut from inside his shirt. The tiny cub's eyes fluttered open for just a second. I'll see you soon, Peanut. I promise. Ethan kissed the top of the cub's head. Soft fur tickled his lips. The smell of wild forest and baby innocence. Dr. Martinez gently took Peanut. Professional hands cradled him safely. But Ethan's hands felt suddenly empty. Buddy and Bear were placed in a specialized transport carrier. Warm blankets surrounded them. Emergency heating kept them comfortable. "Can I visit them?" Ethan asked hopefully. "The Wildlife Center has strict rules," Dr. White said carefully. "But we'll keep you updated on their progress." The rescue van doors closed. Engine sounds filled the clearing. Ethan watched until the vehicle disappeared around a mountain curve. Silence returned to the forest. But everything felt different now. 3 little lives had changed everything. "You did something amazing today, son," Dad said quietly. Ethan wasn't sure. Amazing would be if the cubs got better. Amazing would be seeing them grow up healthy and strong. "Dad, what happened to their mom?" The question hung in the mountain air. Dad had avoided answering before. But Ethan deserved the truth. "We'll find out, son. Rangers are investigating the area now." But deep in his heart, Ethan already knew. Something bad had happened to the mother bear. Something that left 3 babies completely alone. As they drove home, Ethan pressed his face against the Jeep window. Somewhere out there, Peanut was fighting for his life. "Please get better," he whispered to the mountains. "Please don't leave me." The mountains kept their secrets. But hope rode with them all the way home. The phone call came at 3 in the morning. Ethan woke to urgent whispers in the hallway. Mom and Dad's worried voices. Something was very wrong. "Ethan, honey, wake up." Mom's gentle hand shook his shoulder. The boy opened sleepy eyes. Even in the darkness, he could see tears on Mom's face. "Is it Peanut?" His small voice cracked with fear. Mom nodded slowly. "Dr. Martinez called. He's not doing well, sweetheart." Ethan sat up straight. His heart pounded against his ribs. Not doing well meant dying. He wasn't stupid. "I need to see him. The Wildlife Center doesn't allow visitors. I need to see him now." Ethan had never shouted at his parents before. But desperation made him brave. Peanut needed him. Just like this morning. Dad appeared in the doorway. His ranger uniform was half-buttoned. Keys jingled in his hand. "Get dressed, son. We're going." The drive to the Wildlife Center felt endless. Dark Montana highways stretched like black ribbons. Ethan pressed his face to the cold window. "Faster, Dad. Please." "I'm going as fast as I can, buddy." But fast wasn't fast enough. Somewhere in a sterile building, Peanut was slipping away. Alone. Without his family. The Glacier Wildlife Rehabilitation Center sat on 50 acres of protected land. During the day, it buzzed with activity. Now, emergency lights cast eerie shadows. Dr. Martinez met them at the entrance. Her scrubs were wrinkled. Dark circles surrounded tired eyes. "Thank you for coming so quickly. How is he?" Ethan asked before anyone else could speak. "Not good, sweetie. His temperature is dropping. Heart rate is very slow." Ethan understood medical words from watching Dad treat injured animals. Dropping temperature meant the body was shutting down. "Can I see him?" Dr. Martinez hesitated. "He's in the intensive care unit. It's not really a place for children." "Please." Ethan's brown eyes filled with tears. "He knows me. Maybe I can help." The veterinarian looked at Dad. A silent conversation passed between adults. 5 minutes, Dr. Martinez decided. "But you have to be very quiet." They walked through sterile hallways. Medical equipment hummed behind closed doors. The smell of antiseptic filled Ethan's nose. The ICU was a small room filled with specialized incubators. Buddy and Bear slept peacefully in one unit. They looked much better. Pink tongues. Shiny fur. But Peanut lay motionless in another incubator. Tiny tubes connected to his fragile body. Monitors beeped slowly. Too slowly. "Oh, Peanut," Ethan whispered. He pressed both hands against the incubator's glass wall. The cub looked even smaller than this morning. Like a broken toy. Can I touch him? Dr. Martinez opened the incubator carefully. Just for a moment. Ethan's small fingers found Peanut's fur. Still soft. Still warm. But barely breathing. Hey, little guy. It's me. Ethan. The monitors continued their slow, sad beeping. No response. I'm here, Peanut. You're not alone. Ethan began humming the same lullaby from the forest. Soft melodies filled the medical room. One of the monitors changed rhythm. Just slightly. But Dr. Martinez noticed. Keep singing, she whispered urgently. Ethan sang louder. Songs about friendship. About never giving up. About love that never dies. Peanut's tiny ear twitched. The same small movement from this morning. He hears you, Dad said quietly. Of course he does. We're best friends. Ethan leaned closer to the incubator. His breath fogged the glass. Peanut, you have to get better. Buddy and Bear need their little brother. The beeping grew slightly stronger. Peanut's chest rose and fell more steadily. That's it, sweetheart, Dr. Martinez encouraged. Keep talking to him. But suddenly, new alarms shrieked through the building. Emergency lights flashed red. Voices shouted in distant hallways. What's happening? Mom asked anxiously. Dr. Martinez's radio crackled to life. All units to emergency bay. Incoming critical case. Adult female black bear. Gunshot wound. The veterinarian's face went pale. I have to go. Stay with Peanut. She rushed from the room. Ethan heard running footsteps. Vehicle doors slamming. Urgent medical discussions. An adult female black bear. Shot. Brought to the same facility as 3 orphaned cubs. Dad, Ethan said slowly. Do you think? I don't know, son. But it's possible. The possibility hung in the air like electricity. What if the injured bear was Peanut's mother? What if she was alive? Ethan made another decision. The most important one of his life. I'm going to see her. Ethan, no. It's too dangerous. But the boy was already moving. Out of the ICU. Down the hallway. Following the sounds of emergency activity. He found the surgical bay through a window. Bright lights illuminated an operating table. A large black bear lay unconscious. Veterinarians worked frantically. The bear was beautiful. Thick, glossy fur. Powerful muscles. But bandages covered her shoulder. She looked so still. Dr. White noticed Ethan at the window. He stepped outside for a moment. You shouldn't be here, buddy. Is she there, Mom? Dr. White sighed. We think so. She was found 2 miles from where you discovered the cubs. Will she be okay? The bullet missed vital organs. But she lost a lot of blood. The next few hours are critical. Ethan stared through the window. This magnificent creature had been trying to get back to her babies. Even wounded, she'd been searching. Can I help? This isn't a place for children, Ethan. Surgery is very serious. Not with surgery. With her babies. Dr. White looked confused. What do you mean? Bring Peanut here. Let him smell his mom. The idea was crazy. Moving a critically ill cub during surgery? Unprecedented. I don't think that's possible. Animals know their families. Ethan insisted. Peanut needs to know his mom is alive. Dr. White considered this. In all his years of wildlife medicine, he'd seen extraordinary things. Family bonds that defied scientific explanation. Let me talk to Dr. Martinez. 5 minutes later, the most unusual medical procedure in the center's history began. Dr. Martinez carefully transported Peanut's incubator to the surgical bay. The unconscious mother bear lay on one table. Her tiny son rested nearby in his life support unit. This is highly irregular, Dr. Martinez muttered. But stranger things have worked. They positioned the incubator near the mother's head. Close enough for scent. Far enough for safety. Nothing happened for several minutes. 2 patients fighting for life in the same room. Then, something miraculous occurred. The mother bear's nose twitched. Even unconscious, she smelled something familiar. Something precious. Her breathing deepened. Heart rate stabilized on the monitors. And Peanut responded too. His tiny body stirred. Little paws moved for the first time in hours. Incredible, Dr. White whispered. Ethan pressed against the window, tears streaming down his face. They know each other. The mother bear made a soft sound. A gentle rumble deep in her chest. The same sound mother bears make to comfort their cubs. Peanut heard it. His eyes fluttered open. For the first time since the rescue, he was truly awake. "Mom!" Ethan shouted through the glass. "Dad! Look!" The tiny cub tried to move toward the sound. Weak little movements, but purposeful. He was trying to reach his mother. Dr. Martinez carefully lifted Peanut from the incubator. She held him close to his mother's face. The great bear's nose touched her baby's fur. A mother's kiss, gentle as a whisper. Peanut made a tiny sound. A baby's call to his mama. And the mother bear answered. Still unconscious, but responding to the deepest instinct in nature. Protecting her child. "They're going to be okay," Dr. Martinez said with wonder in her voice. "Both of them." Ethan sagged against the window. Relief flooded through his small body. Peanut was safe. The mother was alive. The family would be together again. "You did this, son," Dad said quietly. "Your idea saved them both." Through the glass, Ethan watched the most beautiful sight in the world. A mother and baby, reunited against all odds. Family. Love. Hope. Everything that mattered in the entire universe. 6 weeks later, autumn painted the Montana mountains in gold and crimson. Ethan pressed his nose against the car window as they drove through Glacier National Park. Today was the most important day of his life. "Are you excited, sweetheart?" Mom asked from the front seat. Excited wasn't a big enough word. Ethan felt like his heart might explode with joy. After weeks of waiting, he was finally going to see them again. Peanut. Buddy. Bear. And their amazing mama. "Will they remember me?" Ethan asked for the 100th time. Dad smiled in the rearview mirror. Animals never forget someone who saved their life. The rehabilitation center had called 3 days ago. All 4 bears were healthy. Strong. Ready to return to the wild. But first, they wanted Ethan to say goodbye. Dr. Martinez met them at the visitor center. She looked different today. Relaxed. Happy. Her usual medical scrubs replaced by hiking clothes. "Ready to meet some old friends?" she asked Ethan. They walked along a winding trail through dense forest. Pine needles crunched under their feet. Mountain air filled their lungs with crisp sweetness. "How big are they now?" Ethan asked breathlessly. "See for yourself." Dr. Martinez pointed ahead. Through the trees, a large enclosure came into view. Natural habitat with rocks, trees, and a small stream. And there they were. 3 young bears played beside the water. No longer tiny cubs, but healthy adolescents. Their fur gleamed in the afternoon sunlight. Bear was now the size of a medium dog. His shoulders had broadened with muscle. But his eyes still held gentle kindness. Buddy splashed in the shallow stream. Water droplets sparkled around his playful form. He'd grown sleek and confident. And Peanut. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The tiny cub who nearly died was now vibrant and strong. Still the smallest of the 3, but perfect in every way. "Peanut!" Ethan called out softly. 3 bear heads turned toward the sound. For a moment, everything was still. Then Peanut made a sound. A happy chuff of recognition. He bounded toward the fence with surprising speed. Buddy and Bear followed immediately. All three bears pressed against the chain link, reaching through with curious paws. They remember! Ethan laughed through sudden tears. Dr. Martinez unlocked a special viewing gate. You can go inside the outer area, but stay close to me. Ethan stepped into the enclosure with trembling legs. The bears approached cautiously. Wild instincts warred with childhood memories. Peanut reached him first. The young bear sniffed Ethan's outstretched hand. Recognition dawned in intelligent brown eyes. Gentle as a whisper, Peanut nuzzled Ethan's palm. The same trusting gesture from that first day in the forest. Hey, little guy, Ethan whispered. You got so big! Buddy and Bear joined their brother. Three magnificent creatures surrounding one small boy. But there was no fear. Only love. Where's their mom? Ethan asked. Dr. Martinez pointed to a shaded area beneath towering pines. A large shape rested in dappled sunlight. The mother bear was enormous. Her black coat gleamed with health. The gunshot wound had healed completely, leaving only a small scar on her shoulder. She's beautiful, Ethan breathed. And she knows who you are. As if hearing her name, the mother bear raised her massive head. Yellow eyes focused on the small human boy. She rose slowly, powerfully, and began walking toward them. Ethan's parents tensed. Even Dr. Martinez stepped closer. A wild bear approaching was always serious. But the mother's body language spoke of peace, not aggression. She moved with calm dignity. Ancient wisdom in every step. She stopped just outside the inner fence. Only chain link separated Ethan from 300 pounds of wild bear. The mother looked directly into Ethan's eyes. A long, intense stare that seemed to last forever. Then she did something extraordinary. The great bear lowered her massive head. A bow. A gesture of respect and gratitude that needed no translation. She's thanking you, Dr. Martinez whispered in amazement. Tears streamed down Ethan's face. This magnificent creature understood. She knew he'd saved her babies. She knew he'd brought her family back together. The mother bear made a soft sound. The same gentle rumble from the operating room. But now it carried a different message. Trust. Acceptance. A promise to remember. Thank you too, Ethan whispered back. The cubs gathered around their mother. A complete family once again. Healthy. Strong. Ready for the wild. But saying goodbye felt impossible. When will they be released? Dad asked quietly. Tomorrow morning, Dr. Martinez replied. Deep in the wilderness. Far from roads and people. Ethan's heart squeezed tight. Tomorrow they'd be gone forever. Back where they belong, but beyond his reach. Will I ever see them again? Dr. Martinez knelt beside him. Wild bears can live 30 years, Ethan. And they have incredible memories. If you become a ranger like your dad. She didn't need to finish. The possibility hung in the mountain air like morning mist. I want to be a ranger, Ethan declared. I want to protect animals forever. Dad's hand rested on his son's shoulder. Pride and love in that simple touch. Then that's what you'll become. As afternoon faded toward evening, it was time to leave. The hardest goodbye of Ethan's young life. Take care of each other, he told the bears through the fence. Peanut pressed against the chain link one last time. His nose touched Ethan's fingers through the metal. A promise. A memory. A bond that would last a lifetime. Walking back to the car, Ethan felt different. Older somehow. Changed by the experience of saving lives. Dad, what happened to the person who shot their mom? The ranger's face hardened. He was caught. Poaching bears is a serious crime. He'll spend years in prison. Justice. The word felt good in Ethan's mind. 3 weeks later, An official ceremony took place at the ranger station. Local news cameras recorded the historic moment. Ethan Johnson, age 5, became the youngest honorary junior ranger in Montana history. The badge was small but real. His uniform shirt was specially tailored. The certificate bore the state's seal. "Do you promise to protect and serve all wildlife?" the park superintendent asked solemnly. "I promise," Ethan replied in his strongest voice. Applause echoed through the building. Mom and Dad beamed with pride. Dr. Martinez wiped away happy tears. But the best part came at the end. A special gift from the Rehabilitation Center. 3 photos. Professional wildlife photography showing 3 healthy bears in their natural habitat. Peanuts splashing in a mountain stream. Buddy climbing a massive pine tree. Bear foraging for berries in an alpine meadow. Free. Wild. Alive. "They're thriving," Dr. Martinez explained. "All 3 are growing stronger every day." Ethan held the photos carefully. These weren't just pictures. They were proof that love could change the world. That night, Ethan placed the photos on his bedroom wall, right next to his junior ranger certificate. Before sleep, he whispered the same prayer he'd said every night for 6 weeks. "Keep them safe. Keep them happy. Until we meet again." Outside his window, the Montana wilderness stretched endlessly. Somewhere in that vast wild, 3 young bears were learning to be free. And somewhere in that same wilderness, a magnificent mother watched over them all. The boy who'd saved a family had found his life's purpose. Not in grand gestures or heroic deeds, but in simple kindness. In seeing a need and choosing to help. In believing that every life matters. Years would pass. Ethan would grow up. Attend ranger school. Return to these same mountains as a protector. And perhaps, on some golden autumn day, 3 familiar bears would remember a small boy's love. The circle of life would continue. Broken families would be healed. And the wild would always have guardians who understood its sacred trust. All because a 5-year-old boy heard crying in the forest. And chose love over fear. This is where the greatest adventures begin. With an open heart and the courage to care. The end is really just the beginning.